Hey guys, long time no see. I miss you. I hope you've had a great week and you're going to have a great weekend. Thought I would keep reading. I am on to chapter 10. Chapter 9, Peter had both of his friends from his old town and his new town kind of come together and meet. And I believe they went trick-or-treating, or were gonna go trick-or-treating. And then they got to go to the movies with some girls, and Peter held a girl's hand. Which, remember, you're too old for, or too young for. All right. This one is chapter 10. It's called Santa Who. My father signed up for 10 Chinese cooking lessons. He bought a wok, which is a big round pot, and 4 cookbooks. Most nights he would sit in front of the fire reading. When you finish writing your book, maybe you can open a Chinese restaurant, I suggested. I don't want to open a Chinese restaurant, Dad said, thumbing through the A to Z of Chinese cookery. I just mentioned that because Jimmy Fargo's father used to be an actor, and now he's a painter, so I thought maybe you were going from advertising to writing to cooking. No, Dad said, cooking will be a hobby, not a profession. Oh, I said. Then I added, I like to know what's going on, and sometimes you forget to tell me. Nothing's going on, Dad said. He flipped through a couple of pages, then turned to Mom. What do you think about making this for tomorrow night? Stir-fried chicken with green onions, mushrooms, watered chestnuts, and a touch of ginger. Sounds good to me, Mom said. Cocoa and animal crackers sounds good to me, Fudge said. He had been very quiet tonight, stretched out on the floor with a pad of paper and a fat green crayon. Anyone else for cocoa and animal crackers, Mom asked, getting out of her favorite chair and yawning. Me, I called. Make it unanimous, Dad said. What's unanimous? Fudge asked. It's when everyone agrees, I explained. Everyone agrees, Fudge repeated. That's nice. I like it when everyone agrees. What are you so busy drawing? I asked. I'm not drawing. I'm writing. What are you so busy writing? A letter to Santa. Isn't it a little early, I asked, since we're still eating leftover turkey from Thanksgiving? It's never too early, Fudge said. Where'd you hear that one? I asked. From Grandma, he said. Yeah, I thought so. That makes it ominous, Fudge said. Hey, Dad, I said, I wish you'd think twice before you use big words in front of him. Now he's messing up another one. Messing, Fudge babbled. Must be pretty hard to write a letter when you can't even write, I said to him, chuckling. I can write. Since when? Since I was born. Very funny. Just because you never see me write doesn't mean that I can't. Right, Dad? Good reasoning, Fudge, Dad said. Let me see that letter, I said, suddenly wondering if the kid really did know how to write. Maybe he is some kind of genius, and my parents don't want me to find out because I'm just a regular kid. Maybe they already know that he's going to skip 1st and 2nd grades. Worse yet, he's going to skip them all and wind up in 7th grade next year with me. Worse than that, he's going to be one of those kids that goes off to college at 12. There will be stories about him in all of the news magazines, and people will say to me, Hatcher, that sounds familiar. You aren't by any chance related to that kid genius, Fudge Hatcher, are you? And then I'll have to admit, yeah, he's my little brother. And they'll scratch their heads and say, wow, too bad some of that didn't rub off on you. Then they'll laugh and walk away. I reach over and grab Fudge's letter. I looked over it carefully. It's just scribbling, I said. It is not, Fudge said. Santa's never going to be able to read this, I told him. He'll read the important part. There's only one part that makes sense, I said. Bike. That's the important part, Fudge told me, grabbing back the letter. I'll help you write a real letter, I said. This is a real letter. I'll help you write one to go along with this one, just in case Santa has trouble understanding what you want. I could see Fudge thinking over this offer. When he's thinking hard, he scrunches up his lips and looks like a monkey. Can you make a face like that? Okay, he said, and he passed me the green crayon and fresh piece of paper. I'll tell you what to say. He stood over me and he began to dictate. Dear Santa, please bring me a 2-wheeler bicycle. It should be red just like Peter's. Come on, I said. Be original. Ask for a blue bike or a yellow one. Red, he repeated, just like Peter's. And no training wheels. Training wheels are for babies, he paused. Go on. That's all. I'm finished. I can sign my own name. He printed Fudgy in big letters at the bottom of the page. Are you going to write your last name? No. Well, suppose Santa gets mixed up. He won't. Well, how do you know? Well, there aren't that many kids named Fudge, but just in case, I'll put an H after my name. That way he'll be sure. Dad came back from the kitchen carrying a tray, and we all spread out on the floor and had cocoa and cookies. I'll mail your letter tomorrow, Dad said. Do you know Santa's address? Fudge asked. Yes. What is it? I can't remember, but I have it in my file, Dad said, and he and Mom smiled at each other. Daniel is asking for a bicycle too, Fudge reported 2 mornings later, so we'll be able to ride to school together. If Santa brings you a bike, I reminded him. Well, why wouldn't he? Aren't I a good boy, Mommy? I didn't wait for my mother to answer. There are a lot of kids who can't get what they want even if they deserve it. There are a lot of kids who... Why can't they get what they want, Fudge asked. Because toys and bicycles cost money, I said. So, Santa doesn't have to pay? That's not exactly how it works, I said, gulping down my milk. Then how does it work? Ask Mom or Dad. They'll tell you. I gathered my books and zipped up my jacket. Well, how does it work? Fudge asked. Hurry up, Fudgy, Mom said, avoiding his question, or you'll be late to school. When I got home that afternoon, I cornered my mother. I don't think it's a good idea for you to let him go on believing in Santa. He thinks you can get whatever you want by just asking. He doesn't know about people who can't afford to buy presents. You should do something about that. After all, you told him where babies come from. How can a kid who knows where babies come from believe in Santa? I don't see what one thing has to do with the other, but I do agree that sooner or later he'll have to learn that Santa is just an idea. She sighed. But for now, he is so enthusiastic that the idea of Santa is so lovely that Daddy and I have decided it can't possibly hurt. So please go along with us for a while, Peter. I suppose you're going to tell Tootsie all about Santa? Well, I suppose. Well, I think it's a mistake, I said, and I turned and walked away. I couldn't remember ever having believed in Santa. When I was 3, I caught my parents stacking presents under the tree. And by the time I was 5, I knew exactly where to look for the presents my parents had thought they had carefully hidden. Then this year, I already knew that I would be getting a pocket calculator from Grandma and a clock radio from my parents. I heard Mom and Grandma discussing it on the phone last weekend. Sometimes I think it would be more fun to be surprised on Christmas morning. I wish my family would try harder to keep secrets from me. Didn't he just fuss a minute ago because he wasn't being told things by his dad? Confused now. That night, after Tootsie had been put to sleep, Fudge got after the rest of us to write our letters to Santa. The early bird catches the worm, he said. Who told you that, Uncle Feather? I asked. No, Mrs. Muldoor, he said, seriously. He handed each of us a pencil and a piece of paper. Only 3 weeks to go, he said. Then he danced around singing. He's making a list and checking it twice. He's gonna find out who's naughty and nice. Santa Claus is coming. Oh, excuse me, he didn't say that. He said, Santa who is coming to town. Santa who? I said. Santa Claus, he laughed, clapping his hands. Get it? It's a joke. I say Santa who, then you say Santa who, and then I say Santa Claus. Get it? Yeah, sure, I get it. Isn't that a great joke? Yeah, it's great. Daniel taught it to me. I'm not surprised. Fudge put his hands on his hips. Now hurry up and write your letters to Santa, he said. Rather than argue, we wrote our letters. I knew what was coming next. Now, everybody read their letter out loud. You first, Peter. I looked over at Mom and Dad, and they nodded their heads, encouraging me. So I read my letter, feeling like a kindergarten baby for the first time in a long time. Dear Santa, please bring me one or more of the following items: a clock radio, a pocket calculator, a stereo for my room, 6 albums, and a radio-controlled model airplane. Thank you very much. Sincerely, Peter Hatcher. How will Santa know which 6 albums? Fudge asked. You can just give me a gift certificate, and that way he won't have to waste time trying to figure it out. Oh, I didn't know Santa could leave gift certificates. Santa can leave anything he feels like leaving. Fudge accepted that, and he said, all right, now you, Mommy. When Mom and Dad had finished reading their letters, Fudge said, now what about Grandma? I'm sure she's making a list. Well, what about Tootsie? Well, Tootsie's too young to write to Santa. Then you write it for her, Fudge said, shoving another piece of paper at me. Do I have to do this? I asked. It would be nice, Peter, Mom told me. All right. Dear Santa, please bring me a teddy bear and a pull toy and a A box of Zwieback, Fudge said, and that's enough for her. She's just a baby and she doesn't know anything. Fudge was quiet for a minute, and then he said, what about Turtle? Oh, God. Oh, come on, this is getting ridiculous, I said, and I have homework. But he'd ripped another piece of paper from his pad. Dear Santa, I wrote, please bring me a rubber ball, some dog biscuits, and a new collar. Yours truly, Turtle Hatcher. I folded the letter, handed it to Fudge, and said, I am not writing one for Uncle Feather. Uncle Feather can write his own, Fudge laughed. Daniel came over the next afternoon. Did you write your letter to Santa yet? I asked. I'm Jewish, Daniel said. I don't believe in that stuff. Oh, I thought Fudge said you'd ask for a bicycle for Christmas. I celebrate Hanukkah, and I did ask for a bicycle. Well, who'd you ask? My mother and father. Who do you think? Well, I thought maybe you had like a Hanukkah fairy or something. You're really stupid, Daniel said, shoving handfuls of pretzels in his mouth. Thanks, Daniel. Coming from you, that's a compliment. You're welcome, Daniel said, and then he walked away mumbling, Hanukkah fairy. Our class had a holiday party on the day before vacation with Christmas cookies and punch. I didn't drink any of it this time, not even one cup, even though I was thirsty. No point in taking chances. We each got to pull a silly present out of a grab bag. I got a pair of red plastic lips. Mr. Bogner brought in a sprig of mistletoe and asked us what we knew about it. Alex raised his hand and said, if you get caught standing under it, you might get kissed. Anything else, Mr. Bogner asked. Elaine said, if you want to get kissed, you should try standing under it. Y'all don't get any ideas. Anything else that isn't related to kissing, Mr. Bogner asked. No one answered. Well then, I think you should know that mistletoe is a plant and it grows as a parasite on the trunk of trees. Birds eat the shiny white fruits called berries, but those berries are poisonous to man. Early European people used mistletoe as a ceremonial plant, and that probably explains why we tend to use it at Christmas. While he was talking, he walked to the back of the room and he hung a sprig of mistletoe near the coat closet. Later, when the bell rang, I ran to get my coat. I found myself standing next to Joanne. I think that's the one that held his hand. Under the mistletoe, we looked at each other. She leaned over and she kissed my face way back near my ear. As soon as she did, she turned bright red, and for a minute I thought she was going to cry. In the same spot, but she didn't. So then I gave her a kiss in the same spot, only she moved her head at the last second, and I wound up with a mouthful of hair. On Christmas morning, Fudge woke the rest of us before 6 o'clock. I got it, he shrieked. A big red bicycle without training wheels. Thank you, Santa, wherever you are. We all ran downstairs to open our presents. Turtle got everything on his list, and so did Tootsie, but she preferred the wrapping paper and ribbons to anything else. Besides my calculator and clock radio, I also got a surprise, a gift certificate for 2 albums. 7:30, Mom whipped up a batch of pancakes. At 10 o'clock, Dad fell asleep in the living room sofa, and Mom fell asleep on the floor. That night, Fudge came into my room, and I was sitting up in bed reading the instruction manual that came with my clock radio. Will you teach me how to ride my bicycle, he asked. Sure, as soon as the snow melts. Daniel says that he's going to learn to ride on the grass. That's crazy. Well, if you fall off your bike in the street, you can get hurt, he said. So you'll get a few scraped knees. Scraped knees bleed, don't they? Well, sometimes. I don't like to bleed. Don't worry. Did you get scraped knees when you were learning how to ride? A couple of times, but you don't fall that much, believe me. I believe you. Santa didn't bring you everything you wanted, did he? I didn't expect him to. I would have gotten you a stereo, but I didn't really have that much money. I didn't expect a stereo. I was just kidding around. Me too, Fudge said. What do you mean? I asked. All that Santa stuff. I put down my manual and I looked at him. What do you mean all that Santa stuff? I know there's no Santa, he said. Well, since when do you know? Since always. You don't believe in Santa? No, not ever. Then why? Because Mommy and Daddy think I believe, so I pretend. You pretend? You mean all these letters? Yep. Aren't I a great pretender? Oh my gosh. Yeah, I said. You're the best. All right, stay tuned. We have 2 more chapters. See you next time.